I hit myself.
Mics are live.
Can we call the meeting to order? Meeting of the local planning agency of December the 5th.
You don't sound like you're on.
Gotta,
I didn't-
That's a button, just to tell, that has nothing to do with the mics.
Okay.
Speak into the mic.
just speak into the mic.
You have to turn this button here on.
No, the button
No.
just lights up the light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we call this meeting to order? Can you hear me? Okay. Can we call the meeting to order? This is the LPA meeting of December the 5th. There are no minutes for this meeting, and we only have one item on the agenda. And I'll call Mr. Sinat.
So this is an ex parte, this is a quasi judicial proceeding, so
I'm
we
sorry,
need
I'm
to go through the quasi judicial steps.
I have no ex parte communications to divulge other than I have read in various posts about this meeting and that there are substantial comments from the public about it.
Howard?
Okay, exactly what I don't know, I have no ex parte, is what they call it. The only thing is just tonight I read a lot of what the public is saying about it. And then what I did on as far as what was presented.
Rick, I spoke to staff.
Okay. No ex parte on my part. Do we have any interveners?
There are no interveners.
Okay. Staff presents.
We just need to swear that all witnesses who are going to provide testimony, please stand and raise your right hand.
If you are just speaking,
Not public, just the applicant and staff. Thank you, though.
Yeah, you all don't have to be under oath.
Good, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All parties testifying are sworn in. Staff presents. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the LPA. I'm John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. Copy of my work history.
ladies and gentlemen, if I can't hear, that means you can't hear. So please,
I'm John Sennett, Senior Planner with Growth Management. A copy of my work history has been filed with the clerk. I'm presenting the Wawa Cater and Locks Major Final Site Plan application. This is a request by Engineering, Design, and Construction on behalf of Cantor Investment Partners for approval of a major final site plan to construct an approximately 5,537 square foot convenience store, including 12 fueling stations and associated infrastructure. The subject site consists of an approximately 2.29 acre undeveloped parcel located at the southwest corner of Southwest Locks Road and Southwest Cantor Highway in Stewart. Included is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. The site is located approximately 0.7 miles southwest of the I-95 interchange on Cantor Highway in Stewart. It's located about half a mile east of the intersection of Locks Road and Tropical Avenue. The property is zoned GC, General Commercial. To the north and west, we see the R2 zoning district. To the southwest, across Cantor Highway, we see the LC, Limited Commercial Zoning District, the R3A Zoning District, the A1 Zoning District, and the Florida Club PUD. The future land use designation of the property is General Commercial. To the north and west, we see the Estate Density 2 UPA designation. And to the southwest, across Cantor Highway, we see the Limited Commercial Future Land Use designation. This proposal is for an approximately 5,537 square foot convenience store, including 12 fueling stations and associated infrastructure. The proposed use is consistent with the existing general commercial zoning district and the general commercial future land use. Ingress-egress is proposed from Southwest Locks Road and from Southwest Cantor Highway. The ingress to the site from Southwest Locks Road is proposed to be a right-in only, with a new turn lane proposed. Egress onto Locks Road would be a right-out or left-out. From Cantor Highway, ingress would be a right-in or left-in, with new turn lanes proposed. Egress onto Canner Highway from the site would be a right-out only. As a condition of approval, the owner is required to dedicate right-of-way along Southwest Locks Road and a 10-foot drainage easement along the western property boundary. The required due diligence materials have been reviewed by the Real Property Division of Public Works and have been approved. This is the site plan. The Canner Highway frontage is along the bottom of the plan. You can see the new left turn lane and the new right turn lane. And as I said before, the egress onto Canner Highway would be a right out only. And along the Locks Road frontage over here towards the top, we see the new right turn lane proposed. The ingress to the site from Locks Road is right in only. There would be no left turn lane, no left turns in permitted. Leaving the site going onto Locks Road would be a left out or right out. The development is subject to Martin County Land Development Regulations, Article 4, Division 20, commercial, multifamily, and industrial design. The applicant is requesting alternative compliance from certain commercial design provisions for the right and the rear facade. This is related to building massing and facade transparency. Staff recommend approval. The Board of County Commissioners is the final decision maker for this application. This is the front of the Wawa, fairly standard Wawa facade. This is the right facade or the north facade. Here we see the faux windows proposed. This is the left-facing facade. It faces southwest towards Canner Highway. This is where the outdoor seating area is proposed. This is the rear facade with the ice machine and dumpster enclosure. And here we see again faux windows along the rear. Development review staff have found the Canner Investment Partners application to comply with all applicable regulations and the Comprehensive Growth Management Plan as detailed in the staff report. Staff recommend approving the major final site plan application for Wawa, Canner, and Locks. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions from the LPA?
I have a couple questions for staff. Can you give me a little bit of the history of the limited commercial zoning across the way for the CSA properties?
The limited commercial, I'll pull up our zoning map here. Looks like it was likely rezoned to limited commercial back in 2004, with this parcel being most likely rezoned in 2015. It looks like it was originally assigned the limited commercial future land use back in 1982.
And when was the general commercial granted to the property that is in question?
That was the property was rezoned in 2017. Prior to that, its zoning district was R3A. That's a Category C zoning district which would have been assigned to the property in 1967. The R3A zoning district had a variety of permitted uses, including gas stations.
So what was the applicant for that rezoning to general commercial?
I believe it was just the property owners at that time, Mr. and Mrs. Restrelli.
Okay. And there's been some commentary in the public about the drainage swale and some tree removal. Can you point to those trees?
So it would be along the western property boundary. This is where the new 40-foot landscape buffer and bio-retention stormwater area are proposed. I do actually have the landscape plan pulled up. You can see this is the bio-retention stormwater area along with the buffer.
And can you identify which trees exist, the big canopy shade trees that will have to be removed in order to provide the bioswale?
I don't have that plan in front of me. There are two large oaks along the Canner Highway frontage down here towards the middle south that will be preserved, those large diameter oaks along Canner Highway.
Maybe we can get that from the applicant when the applicant presents.
Absolutely.
Those are the questions that I have right away. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I just have a quick one. Did you say, did I understand that there was a gas station there before?
No, a gas station would have been a permitted use on the property even before the property was rezoned in 2017.
Okay.
I have a question. So tell me about the alternate compliance with the facade.
Yes, so to give you an overview of the commercial design regulations in our LDR, one of the purposes of those is to prevent, boring, long rectangles. In this case, the applicant is requesting alternative compliance along the rear facade, their back of house operations. This is just related to our transparency regulations. Normally, 40% of a primary facade should be occupied by, transparent windows. In this case, since this facade would look in towards their, walk-in coolers, the applicant provided adequate justification for the use of faux windows rather than transparent windows. And same thing with the right facade here. This facade fronts bathrooms and walk-in coolers, therefore faux windows were determined to be appropriate. There was also alternative compliance requests related to building massing requirements. The building massing generally require articulations in wall planes. Since this wall plane is only about 55 feet, the applicant was able to provide adequate justification to warrant fewer articulations in the wall plane.
And are you done? I'm sorry.
No, yes, I'm done.
And what else is an accommodation for them? Tell me about the bioswale and why that's a problem.
So, the applicant is proposing this type 4 landscape buffer. In compliance with our code, the amount of vegetation and the materials themselves are consistent with what is required for a type 4 landscape buffer. It is in the same location as their bioretention area. So essentially, this stormwater detention area will be planted with vegetation material that is consistent with a type 4 landscape buffer. In fact, in several respects, the applicant has actually, I believe the majority of trees in this area are over the minimum required height of 14 feet. I think most of these trees are actually between 16 and 18 feet tall. They're proposing sycamores, bald cypress, magnolias, red maples, and live oaks.
So is that in and of itself not in compliance with the LDRs?
No, sir. Our LDR reads that landscape buffers, they could be located within such areas with good cause shown and subject to the discretion of the growth management director.
And Paul, did you show your discretion?
Good evening, members of the board. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. Yes, as John indicated, we have a 40-foot landscape buffer that is going to be revegetated and exceeding in scale the requirements of the vegetation. I would also point out that we have a 6-foot vinyl fence that's going along the east side of the drainage easement that is being dedicated to the county to facilitate historic flows of that drainage pattern from Locks to Canner. And then in simple terms, that depressional area will be approximately 3 feet, and that will facilitate the stormwater function of the site, also benefiting having the benefit of open space, which has been exceeded in this site. I believe it's 40%, somewhere thereabouts. The minimum required in the GC zoning district is 20%.
Could I ask a question while we're on that topic?
Sure.
Is there engineered infiltration in that trench, or is it simply a lined swale?
I believe it's not lined. It's intended to
Infiltrate, but it's not an engineered
the
French drain or any other.
the applicant can weigh in on that. I'm not aware of that. I do know that there will be, with the exception of a bulkhead at that area If John points to that one structure that will be running up.
Yes, there are flumes and there's a control structure. And in fact, the bottom will also be planted with pickerel weed and arrowhead to kind of mimic what, a wetland area might look like.
So it's intended to stay wet?
The applicant can clarify that. Their engineer of record is here. But it will be a bioretention stormwater detention area.
And with the zoning that is currently on the property, they're not asking for rezoning.
No, sir.
This use is perfectly allowable,
Correct.
so we are not giving them anything more than what they are entitled to with the zoning. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thanks, Rick.
Any other questions? No interveners? Applicant?
The applicant is turning in the affidavit of mailers.
Good evening, board members. Tyson Waters from the law firm of Fox McCluskey here on behalf of the applicant. I want to thank staff for their work on part of this project, as well as their staff report and their presentation tonight. I think it did a very nice job of giving an overview. In a minute, I'll have David Baggett from Haley Ward come up here and give a more detailed presentation, an overview and description of what we're doing on the site, what's proposed, and some of the nuances that have been asked here tonight. But before I do that, because there's been some questions and confusion and concerns about the proposed use and what's allowed or what's not allowed, I do want to walk you through the history of the property for just a little bit. John's mentioned some of this, but from your original zoning code in 1967, convenience store and gas station has been a permitted use on this site. There was a mandatory rezoning back in 2017 just to update it from that category C to the current zoning designation, but the use of a convenience store and gas station has been permitted and allowed on the site since 1967. The original comprehensive plan and future land use map from 1982 designated this piece of property as commercial general, again, which allows and contemplates convenience stores and gas stations on a site like this. The current property owner has owned this property since 1984, again, with the expectation and understanding based on the existing land use and an existing zoning, this is a permitted use. So essentially for the past 60 years, a gas station and convenience store has been an allowed permitted use on this site. And I think that's important, as Mr. Campani already noted. We're not asking for a comprehensive plan change. We're not asking for a land use change. We're not asking for a zoning change, and we're not asking for an amendment to the land development regulations. What we are asking is that you follow your comprehensive plan, you follow the land use map and the zoning map, and you follow the terms of the land development regulations. We're also asking that you listen to the paid professional staff that you have at the county that have given this a very thorough review. And as you've seen in the staff report, we comply with the land development regulations. We comply with the comprehensive plan. We comply with the current terms of your regulations and ordinances for a use like this. The only reason we're here is because gas stations are deemed a special category and change this from a minor site plan to a major site plan. So if we had come forward with a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, we wouldn't be here tonight. We would have been done at a staff level, approved and on our way. But we're here tonight because it's a gas station, and we're going to demonstrate, and we have demonstrated with staff, that we comply with all of your regulations. So with that, I would ask you to accept staff's position and their recommendation, and I'd ask that you make that same recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And with that, I'll turn this over to David Baggett to give you a more in-depth presentation about the project that's in front of you.
I got the remote here, John? All right, good deal. Evening, board members. I'm David Baggett with EDC Haley Ward. I'm civil engineer on the project. First, I want to say I've had the pleasure of presenting this project before you here tonight. Worked in Martin County for many years and seen the ebbs and flows of development, and was excited with the opportunity tonight to bring you a project just as Tyson described, one that has consistent zoning, consistent land use, satisfies the comprehensive plan and the LDR. And want to share some information, hopefully answer some of the questions that we noted to staff's presentation along the way for your consideration and recommendation. I'll do my best to try and not rehash too much of the stuff that John shared. A lot of the information you may still the same, but I will stop on the slides that I think are worth elaborating on and answering some of those questions. The project's located west of I-95 and Turnpike on Canner Highway and Locks Road. A little closer zoom in there to see the project area, parcel area. Important to note that the parcel is 2.29 acres as it stands. We are, however, making a right-of-way dedication to the county along Locks Road to provide additional right-of-way back to Locks Road there. The application for your consideration of approval includes 2.29 acres, like I said, 2.19 after the right-of-way dedication. Includes a 5,500 square foot convenience store, 12 fueling stations with canopy and associated landscaping, access, stormwater management, utilities. As Tyson elaborated, the current the zoning under the original zoning map in 1967 was R3A with gas station as a permitted use. That's 57 years of history on this site dating back with gas as a permitted use. Some of the 1982 land use under the county's original comprehensive plan, 42 years in age, had commercial general as the land use. The proposed site plan is compliant with the existing zoning of general commercial, compliant with the existing land use, commercial general, compliant with the land development code and comprehensive plan. The application also satisfies concurrency, level of service, and adequate public facilities per Article 5.32. This is just another view at the land use map with the commercial general land use, the zoning map with general commercial zoning. So we'll elaborate a little more on the permitted use here. Once again, commercial general land use and general commercial zoning. Within the general commercial zoning, a categorized breakdown of permitted uses is in the code. And under that categorized breakdown, gas falls into what is known as vehicular service and maintenance. So following that path and using the LDR's matrix, for general commercial, vehicular service and maintenance is a permitted use. And just to be sure that that is outlined in Table 3.11.2. As Tyson mentioned, this application is here before you tonight because it is considered a major site plan. Vehicular service and maintenance, including gas stations, is allowed, but requires commission and LPA approval, or LPA recommendation, I should say, as a minor site, or as a major site plan. I provide some other permitted uses on this site only to say that there is other avenues for this site to be developed in the future. There are other potential projects without this that get, I would say, potentially less consideration, less input, less feedback from the LPA, from the board, from the public, from staff, from our team. So I see that as a benefit here is that this project's been heavily vetted, heavily reviewed, gotten a lot of feedback as opposed to just a pure objective view against the LDR. And some of the uses that could be approved as a minor site plan are listed below: shooting ranges, pain management clinics, kennels, car washes, storage facility, funeral home, retail services. Even as far as the Live Local Act, even though the site's geometrically constrained, but that particular act actually would allow for a 4-story building on a site like this. So stepping through some of the development regulations, just showing LDR versus our proposed site plan, we meet or exceed all the criteria. I think it's interesting to see that the general commercial zoning allows for up to 60% building coverage, where between the convenience and the canopy, we're only at 11.33. Under the max height, as Paul noted, we're close to 41% open space versus the code minimum of 20. Just comparing some more of the setback requirements. We don't have a side setback per se because we have right-of-way on 3 property lines. We do have a rear setback requirement to the residential property to the west of us, which we well exceed the minimum required. This is another look at the site plan. For those that don't like looking at engineering plans, here's a color version of the site plan showing the orientation of the store towards the intersection of Canner and Locks. For utilities, there's existing water and sewer stub already out to the property, planning for eventual development of this property, and those are the connections that we're going to utilize for the project. Spending some time on the landscape buffers, where this use abuts residential, we're required to have a type 4 landscape buffer. And I'll elaborate a little bit what that is, but just to clear there, you'll see the term buffer yard used. That's used a little bit interchangeably with buffers, where the buffer yard constitutes the area of the buffer, and the buffer is really the width of it. A type 4 buffer yard is 40 feet wide, landscape strip with a 6-foot high opaque fence, wall or a berm, and at least 1 tree and 34 shrubs shall be provided for every 300 square feet. So if you think about that, that's a 30-foot length, 10 feet wide, where you would have 1 tree. We well exceed how much trees we've packed in on that buffer on the western boundary, which is where this would apply. Trees must be at least 14 feet in height and a 3-inch caliper. What we propose is the 40-foot strip plus an additional 6.5, because we wanted to get some more planting on the east side of the bioretention area with native trees and shrubs. We have a 6-foot high opaque fence on a 3-foot berm. So to put that in context, and I have a section here to show that, that's elevated above the existing grade of the property line at the adjacent residential property. The bioretention area is planted entirely with native trees and wetland vegetation to provide additional removal of nitrogen and phosphorus. So I think the question was asked, is it to be infiltrated, or does it just hold water? The reason why we put wetland vegetation in there is because you can expect in the wet season that it's going to be frequently at least saturated, but it is designed to percolate. It meets the county's criteria and the LDR for recovery, which is another term for infiltration, for drawing that water back down in a suitable amount of time. The project proposes the following buffer along the right-of-way, which is 10 feet, planted with native trees and shrubs. We are preserving 2 large oaks along Canner Highway. And then we've got another bioretention area at the corner of Locks and Canner, not just on the west side. We've made both of those retention areas the same design. So here's a visual of that with the buffer areas hatched. You can see on the western boundary, we've packed that area with as much vegetation as we can. The trees are dotted with the fuzzy outline of the circles, with that dark hatch in the middle being where you have pickleweed, Sagittaria, other wetland or emergent vegetation in there that'll be suitable for that system. In red, I circled the 2 large oaks that we're going to be preserving along Canner, and the trees around the rest of the property. This is a section view along the western property boundary abutting the residential use next to us. As you can see, the fence will be placed on a berm elevated above existing grade of that property. So we get true screening along that side and vegetated on both sides. We've got some renderings of the lines of sights as you would see the site from the right-of-way. This is Canner Highway traveling west, so if you had just gone through the intersection at Locks and we're heading west on Canner Highway, this is reflective of that view. This is if you were in the intersection of Canner and Locks looking towards the corner of the site with the bioretention area on the corner. This is the view as if you were traveling east towards the intersection at Canner Highway with the right turn lane and the restricted access. This is from Canner Highway looking at the 40-foot buffer along the western boundary. You can see the fully vegetated, planted out area with the undeveloped property being further to the west outside the fence, and you can see that the fence tucked in back there. And I guess I'll go back a slide or two, or wait, it's on the next one. Yeah, so this would be looking at that same western boundary from Locks Road with the rows of trees and vegetation in the bioretention area, and off to the very right-hand side there, the opaque fence. Some environmental information. Our firm did an environmental assessment and a tree report this year. A summary of those findings is there's no native habitat on site. It was historically cleared and maintained that way for quite some time, and I've provided a couple aerials to that effect down below. There's no wetlands, no jurisdictional wetlands on site. We are preserving the 2 larger oaks along Canner Highway, and out of the 111 trees planted per the LDR, 98 of those trees, or 88%, are going to be larger than code minimum. Moving to the building, these are just some of the same renderings that you saw in John's presentation. This is the canopy with its stone facade columns. Some of this was touched on during John's presentation and the questions thereafter. The facades of the building are designed to meet the intent in the LDR of the mass or scale criteria, where we don't want large square boxes. I mean, really, if you dig into that code, the heart of it is not to have a large, flat facade, white, rectangular building that when you're driving along the road is just not appealing to look at. Rather, Wawa's architecture is contrary to that. It's not massive or generic as the code says. That's what you want to avoid. Instead, we have awnings located over windows and doors, outdoor seating, decorative columns, fascia, and light fixtures, and peaked roof form. John touched on the alternative compliance, and I think he hit it spot on, is that the reason it was applied here is because of the size of the building and because of that intent that I just explained, is that there's a couple items in the code that are really meant to prevent just a big square blocked building, and that the non-mirrored glass criteria is good intent for most operations, but you wouldn't want to see in the back of a deli or a fire room or back of house operations. And so using faux windows instead and still accentuating the architecture is a good call there. On the corner of Canner and Locks, we will have a architectural monument. Going to access and traffic now. And so some more that John outlined is that we are proposing a right and left turn lane on Canner Highway. And I'll give you a little bit of background on that. A right turn lane on Locks Road as a means of ingress only, and a restricted ingress from any left turn movements entering on Locks Road. So this project came into our hands sometime in early 2023, and before we ever submitted an application to the county, one of the things we spent a lot of time on vetting was traffic, and we spent a lot of time coordinating with county staff and the Department of Transportation to really look at what was going to be sufficient for access here. What we found out in that process is without an alternative, we were going to have to add a left turn lane on Locks Road that would have backed up to the existing turn lanes. It was very clear to everybody that was a no-go, that was something we would avoid at all costs, because knowing that intersection and its geometry already, adding more stacking in the opposite direction was just not going to work. And so what we did is we went and applied to FDOT to get a left turn lane on Canner Highway. What that allows us to do is that allows us to more full access off of Canner Highway to keep as many trips as possible off of Locks Road. And then restricting the ingress from Locks Road, because that's really where the heart of the traffic lives and dies, is that routing traffic onto Locks Road was going to cause the complications. And so by restricting that, we're keeping all the ingress to Canner Highway, other than what would approach from the west on Locks Road with the right turn lane. The project proposes, actually, I want to go back and make one other point here. You know, one of the reasons too is that without the arrangement of access that we have proposed in the site plan now, we end up with a condition that encourages U-turn movements in Canner Highway's intersection. You can see there, the picture I included is the existing left turn yield sign there. So what you have now is the ability to make a left turn when the traffic clears without a stop condition at Canner Highway. And so what that turns into, if you just have a right in, right out driveway, let's say on Canner Highway, is people making U-turns constantly to get into that access. So the left turn lane that we were able to get from DOT, and there was a lot of convincing involved in that, but they ultimately agreed that this was the best condition that could serve this site, allows people to avoid making that movement, which is ultimately what we wanted to avoid. The two driveways are proposed to allow more distribution of traffic, restricted in ways that reduce new trips to Locks Road. Important to note that convenience and fuel have a high capture rate of existing trips, and what is meant by that is 75% of the trips that are on the road are already on the road, and 75% of the trips going to Wawa, I should say, are already on the road, as opposed to new, being strictly a new destination that they would go to. The proposed plan allows surrounding residential communities ingress and egress to the site without unsafe U-turn movements on Canner Highway. Something else that came up along the way through the approval process was that Martin County Fire Rescuers requested us to install a fire hydrant on Locks Road. And so there are benefits there for the fire department to have access to that hydrant and have access via Locks Road. Bottom line is the proposed traffic does not impact the road level of service to an extent that warrants the addition of a turn lane at the signal from Locks Road to Canner Highway. Due to physical constraints, the right-of-way and additional turn lane would result in misaligned or substandard geometry lanes at the existing intersection or signal. Those are important because these are all the things that we put through their paces as we were developing the site plan between county staff and the Department of Transportation. Just outlining the code sections that we're compliant with, section 4.844, mobility and connectivity, driveway location and design, and section 5.32 of the LDR for adequate public facilities. These are excerpts from the final staff report, the green outline there, determining that the evaluation is positive. Another section from the staff report outlining all the various sections of adequate public facilities, potable water, sewer, solid waste, stormwater, roads, mass transit, public safety. So speaking to more to the land use and zoning on the site, the right location. The site is compliant with zoning and land use. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan. In addition to all that, it's high-quality service to the communities west of I-95 and the Turnpike. As compared to, like I mentioned in my earlier slides, a number of other uses on this property, Wawa is a high-quality service in this area. The Wawa brand and store model creates a safe environment that integrates itself into the local community. You'll see when Wawa stores open in that area, they become where the first responders, go. They're often engaged in some of the events that Wawa puts on. That 3 a.m. call for the sheriff's office out west of 95. I mean, that's going to be a place where they'll go either before or after, or when they're making their rounds in that area. So Wawa's feeling safety and convenience. Wawa has an impeccable health and safety record. They meet or exceed all EPA and FDP regulatory requirements. And I've spent many hours myself in consultant meetings with them where they outline all the new technology that they have for spill prevention, containment, automatic systems. I mean, you can't drive away from a fuel pump at Wawa with the gas handle in your car still, and it breaks away and there's a spill. They have automatic valves, automatic sensing that detect all that stuff. They have trained staff and underground storage tanks and operations of fuel facilities at every store. The project team did have a neighborhood meeting that was held on May 30th at Christ Fellowship on Pratt Whitney. To summarize everything that you've heard tonight, the property size will be 2.19 acres. That is after the 10th of an acre right-of-way dedication on Locks Road. Proposes a 5,537 square foot convenience store, 12 fueling stations, Construction of an eastbound right turn lane on Locks Road, construction of an eastbound left turn lane on Locks Road, sorry, or on Canner Highway, construction of a westbound right turn lane on Canner Highway. There's no utility upsizing, extensions, expansion required. We already have service at the boundary. Native landscaping and buffering, bioretention, stormwater management, treatment, and complies with 5.32 adequate public facilities for traffic, utilities, stormwater management, solid waste, public facilities. And once more, for good measure, it is consistent with the existing zoning, the existing land use, and comprehensive plan. And with that, we're happy to take any questions you have. Actually, Tyson.
I only have one question.
Yes, sir.
I know Jim, you'll have many. But does your traffic study show anything about stacking? And what does it show about stacking?
Well, the signal's been analyzed in the traffic impact analysis and the distribution at the signal, and that it doesn't trip any warrants for additional modifications at that signal. I'm not sure exactly.
Well,
Maybe you could refund it.
Are they gonna, ladies and gentlemen,
Come on. Hey,
Everybody's going to have a chance to talk, but we'll just let him talk.
if you're telling me that there won't be cars waiting, I'm a little in disbelief. If you're telling me there'll be 3 cars or 5 cars stacked, then I am more able. So do you have a is your traffic study, has it showed any stacking?
The traffic impact report that we submitted demonstrates what the existing maybe Luke's more. to that.
Good morning, Luke Lambert here on behalf of O'Rourke Engineering and Planning. Yes, sir. Our analysis shows the intersection operations, and it shows that we comply with concurrency requirements of the Martin County Land Development Regulations. So if you have any specific questions that you'd
I
like me
just
to...
asked, does it show that there will be stacking at all, either on, it will only be on Locks Road? Does it show that cars will back up?
Yes, sir.
Getting in and out?
Yes, sir.
It does?
Yes, sir.
How many cars does it show will be, it backs up? And
So
then-
the analysis that we supplied shows the existing intersection operations, and it shows what is proposed under a worst-case scenario. And so the queue length that's in our traffic study shows a 95th percentile queuing back to 400 feet.
And for the lay person, how many cars is that?
Hey, come on, give the guy a chance to talk, please.
Let him tell the truth.
He is telling the
yeah,
truth.
we got to give him a chance to tell the truth, okay?
So just rough geometry, sir. So from the stop bar of this traffic signal at Canner and Locks, there's about 250 feet to the driveway of Marin Drive, to the current residential community that's there. So 400 feet, it would be another 150 feet past that. So
So there's substantial stacking happening.
that's a worst-case scenario. And
So can I ask another question that is
If I could finish.
pertinent to that one? Just because this is a Wawa, and because
Ladies and gentlemen,
on,
it
give
sells
everybody- act like
ethanol-free
adults.
gasoline, it's likely to have more boat trailer traffic than your average gas station. Is boat and trailer considered in your traffic counts?
so the simulation software doesn't really consider that. It considers the standard occupancy vehicle of a car, 25 feet per car length.
So-
that's pretty typical.
So we're talking more than that, considerably more than that, considering Locks Landing and considering Phipps Park, considering boat traffic on trailers, using this as their primary gas station.
I would think that that would be subjective to any different type of use, any different type of day, sir, so.
I'm sorry.
do we have someone from the county who could verify those numbers?
Sure. We can have someone talk about traffic if you like.
I think I would. If you want to wait till the presentation is over, that's fine, too.
Okay, sure.
Presentation's done. We're just here for questions.
Okay, well, that's the only question I have.
So this is a considerably more impervious piece of property than currently exists. I noticed in one of your photographs, there was a storm drain on Canner that I believe is going to be draining into that stormwater retention area on the corner of Locks and Canner.
No, sir.
No? So that's going to the current stormwater treatment facilities, and so everything on your property is staying on your property, and you are not accommodating any of the stormwater from either Canner or Locks Road?
So we're providing conveyance, continued conveyance of what drains off of Locks Road now. Locks Road does not have a formal drainage system now. However, it drains through the property along the western boundary to a ditch that continues to the west off of our property boundary. There may be a slide there I can get back to. So we're continuing conveyance of that. Everything within our property boundary, we're treating and attenuating and retaining, the applicable volumes per the county's LDR and South Florida Water Management District on site. For Canner Highway, there's already a permitted drainage system that serves that roadway. We're maintaining connectivity of that system, really just across our driveway in the turn lane. When they widened Canner Highway last time, the inlet that you saw in this picture, it used to convey and was connected further to the west, but they severed that connection. It's really just a dead-end inlet right now that connects underneath Locks Road and drains to the east.
Okay. So one of the images you showed was of the bump out on the south side of Canner Highway on the CSA property, and you were calling that the expansion of the left-hand turning area, but that already exists.
Are you saying the addition of the left turn lane?
Well, there's a left-hand turn lane, but the space that you're getting for that already exists on the right-hand side or the eastbound traffic side there. If you look at the photographs, that within that ellipse, that bump out exists already on Canner Highway.
In the bottom?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing what you're saying about bump out.
That's providing your left-hand turning capacity on Canner Highway.
That's an additional left turn lane.
If you look at the photographs,
Right turn lane and left turn lane. No, the left turn lane, there's a left turn lane at the intersection, but it's a full section median right now as you continue to the west. We're cutting through that to add the left turn lane.
okay,
And the
so
right
you're
turn
cutting
lane is going to
through
be
the
extended
median.
outside the bike lane.
Okay. Do you have a photograph of that?
John, is there a way to?
Yes.
So you're cutting through the median.
Yes,
but
just south of where that left turn lane is, or sorry, southwest, I guess, from where that left turn lane is for the intersection.
your arrow is considerably further to the west than your property line.
No, sir.
Zoom out some, John.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're really just cutting through the median?
Yeah.
Okay.
You done? Because I have one other question.
Yeah.
Believe. So what would happen if you didn't get the architectural accommodation? Let's not talk about whether it's ugly or not. What happens if you don't get the architectural accommodation? You have to build according
Windows.
to code.
Yeah. You end up with windows facing the resident.
What happens to the project?
Oh. I think we would have to discuss that with our team, but I think that's my short answer right now, is that we'd have to discuss that with the team. I mean, I think what we're aiming for is in best interest of what's around us and be architecturally sound and meet the LDR.
But if you did build to the LDR, you would have to put real windows in, correct? And it may not be the best answer, but you would have to do that. So I'm asking if
Be
you,
held to that, yes.
yeah, if you were strictly held to that,
Yes.
and it would not be the best look,
No, it would not.
but would it stop the project?
No.
Probably not. Okay. That's my questions.
I just have one, and I'm just a little curious. The Wawa and the Monterey and what, the Scanner, does this have any bearings on it at all? The Wawa that's there, is not a closure or anything for that one? No. Okay.
I'd like to, if it's, unless you have questions, I'd like to hear from the staff's traffic.
Jim Gorton, Public Works Director. So you had a question about the queuing at the, essentially on Locks Road.
Right.
Westbound.
If it's 400 feet, that's, at 25 feet, that's 12 cars.
Correct. So the analysis that they did was use the highway capacity manual, which is the approved analysis methodology that we use for queuing. And based on that analysis, they did determine that the 95th percentile, which is nearly a worst-case scenario, 100% would be the completely worst-case scenario, is a 400-foot queue during the peak hour. And for just for comparison, the intersection of Marin Drive, where the proposed entrance to the site is 225 feet. So it's going to queue up essentially twice as far as that intersection on Locks Road. So.
Right. Y'all are going to have your 3 minutes.
So what we did was work with the applicant on that because to limit the left turn access to the site, because the concern is that vehicles that were traveling westbound on Locks would want to turn into the Wawa on Locks Road, and that would cause a backup on Locks and then back out onto Canner Highway. So that was something that we worked with them to get that kind of pork chop median that's in the entrance that will preclude that left turn access for folks. We would prefer, and based on the design methodology that they used, that the folks that wanted to access the site from Canner Highway would continue past Locks Road and then use the entrance that's on Locks Road.
And that's what they're doing.
And that's what they're doing. That's the way they designed it.
You good? Any other questions?
No, it's not right now.
We'll hear from the public. First one up is Christine Truitt. And a reminder, you got 3 minutes. Christine Truitt, she wanted to be first, so I.
You can't, yeah, the design vehicle.
No, we have to go out the other. There's a room back there.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Christine Truitt, and I am a homeowner. My husband and I are homeowners in Savannah Estates, so I do live on Marin Drive, and I'm very familiar with it. I am here today just to introduce our group. You're going to hear several speakers that are going to come up and talk to our concerns. We are a fairly large group, so the first thing that I'm going to do is introduce our petitions to you. So we had 2 petitions on change.org. This was not intentional. One was started in May of this year, and the other one was started by us in October. The first petition garnered 184 signatures, or 186. Ours, as of last night, was at 876. These are people that are opposed to the Wawa, this particular Wawa with a gas bay and outdoor seating on this piece of property. I did take the 2 lists and merge them. I got rid of all the duplicate names. I have a list of the duplicate names. So I did want to introduce that, and I can pass this around for you
You
guys.
give it to the bailiff.
Okay. And then I'm very glad that I also brought some pictures because we were talking about the stacking issue, and I have some actual real
Could you
pictures.
put them on that thing, and then the overhead camera can display them?
So this is a picture. Everybody can see it. So this is Canner Highway. This is Locks Road. This is Savannah Estates right here. And as you can see, in the morning, the cars, I mean, they back up way down here, way more than 400 feet, I will say that. I also have this picture, which shows you, so he was saying that it's I think 200 feet between the entrance of Wawa and Marin Drive, which is right here. So as you can see, cars are backed up way more than 250 feet. So I did want to share those with you also. So we are a fairly large group, and there's about 45 of us that have gotten together and divided ourselves into 12 subcommittees to address our different concerns. We really wanted to come before you guys today with a presentation that had data, had literature backed. We are going to be presenting that to the Board of Commissioners. Unfortunately, we were originally told that this meeting was not going to happen until January and February. We got a notification on Friday, the week before Thanksgiving, that this was going to happen today, which really put us in a very bad position because we honestly just didn't have time to get everything done, and people were away. It was Thanksgiving. We've been working with, departments at the state level, at the local level, trying to gather data and different information. So it's unfortunate that I don't have that for you, but we do have people to at least speak to it.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Robin Osborne.
Hi, my name is Robin Osborne. Good night, or good evening to you all. I really appreciate you allowing us to speak. I am the property that's right there by on the west side, the adjacent with the pool. I have listened to your presentation. I do oppose this very much. I can only do it to your heartstrings. I don't know how, if you're going to vote. I know you're not. I have 3 children with autism, and I really don't want a gas station in my backyard. I have learned how environmentally concerns through my life as a mom with health for my children. I'm a nurse. I have learned down this journey for a very long time. It's factors that they have had in their life. They have sensory issues too, loud noises. And I've moved to this property. I don't know if I'd realized that it was zoned for a different thing. I understand that it is a zone, but I really would appreciate it not being a gas station in my backyard. My children, like I said, have sensories to fireworks, loud noises. They can't even go to a July 4th party. It freaks them out. I'm just trying to your heartstrings. You guys are all wonderful people, and I'm sure you're all doing your best at your job, you can. I don't know what else to say. I did bring a presentation. I just feel like I really don't want this gas station in my backyard. There's so many different things you can say. I also know that I'm also now, as you guys did the thing, it will be a flooding issue. We already have, during the wet season, during November, October, September, we had a very big zone, wet zone. Right, we had waterfront property, and it's just not, I know they are going to try to work on something there, but I'm from Missouri. You have to show me. I don't believe it.
Gene Rife. Gene Rife, R-E-I-F-F, Reef.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. First off, when this site was donated, when it was planned to be a gas station 62 years ago, there's only a couple of us around here that were alive. These guys weren't. So the fact of the matter is, that was also farmland. And the reason why there was never anything ever developed there is because it was farmland. Now you've got a residential community. You got a fire station with EMTs right down the street. You have 2 major campgrounds right at the end of Locks Road. You have all kind of traffic in the mornings and in the evenings. And right now, to put a Wawa there would be, to put any gas station there would be crazy because it's just too congested and it doesn't seem to be able to fit into a residential area. You have commercial coming along Canner Highway all the way across to the turnpike, and then whenever you have residential after you cross that bridge, and then you get commercial once you get out to the area of Pratt Whitney Road. So the point is that there's other places that a gas station could be built, and this is not the proper place for it because it's residential. There are just there are too many places something like this could go in. I understand that the Wawa Corporation has 28 designed or proposed Wawas on the Treasure Coast, and there's going to be 8 of them in Martin County. That's sort of tough whenever you have other areas that have convenience stores and gas stations available for people to be able to come. He said 75% of the traffic that's on the road would use the Wawa. That's right. So therefore, there's 75% of the traffic that can use the other 8 gas stations and convenience stores that run from anywhere right there from the new gas station that was just built at the corner of Cove Road and Canner Highway all the way out to 1/4 mile past where this one wants to be built. There's a gas station at the corner of Pratt Whitney Road and Canner. So you've got 8 of them, convenience stores. Why do we need another one? Thank you very much.
Sir, can you,
Sir?
He didn't state his name.
Sir?
sir,
Sir, could you just for the record state your name in the microphone? Thank you, Lee, sorry.
okay.
My name is Gene Reef, and I live in Locks Landing.
Thanks.
Next is Rick Osborne, and would Michelle Kahn kind of get close so you can follow right behind him?
I want to thank you for your time. My name is Rick Osborne.
State your name.
Rick Osborne.
Thank you.
And as my wife had said, I live right next door. I have no dispute with the legality of what they're being done. They are following the letter of the law. I just don't know if the spirit of the law is being considered as this neighborhood. Wawa, while it's a wonderful business, is a 24/7 operation. The impact it could have in the middle of the night is something that is really going to, impact me. I don't know what's going to happen to property values. I don't mean to be it, but I don't know if any of you would like it if it was next to your house. So it's something that is just, as the gentleman before me stated, not in the right place. As I understand, there's more development at Pratt Whitney, and Canner, where there are Publix be, more neighborhoods, it would be better. As I believe I've seen the 7-Eleven that went in at Salerno and Canner, didn't have a neighborhood there, and the neighborhood was built around it as it was being built. The Wawa at Monterey and Canner also, I believe, was put there and the neighborhood built around it. Now you're talking about a neighborhood that exists and you're trying to insert something into it. And I just don't think it's the right place for something like, especially a gas station, as has been noted, environmental concerns. And I can tell you for sure, I can't get out of my driveway in the morning a lot of times now. It's going to get a lot worse. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Kahn, and then Bazil Ahmed.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kahn. I am a resident at Lake Tuscany Development down Locks Road. We are opposed to the construction of this gas station. Number one, as has been discussed, the amount of vehicular traffic that's going to take place, which is then going to increase the risk of accidents at the entry and exit points. That's going to impact the response time for the Tropical Farm Fire Department, number 22, considering there are only 2 exits, which is Tropical Avenue and Locks Road. The potential safety risk for nearby residential areas, especially the children. There is a Martin County school bus stop directly across from the entrance of the Wawa. We also have the potential groundwater contamination from fuel storage and potential leaks. Roebuck Creek is only a few hundred feet from this location. The creek handles storm drainage from the surrounding communities and drains into the St. Lucie River and the increased impermeable surface area disrupting local water drainage patterns. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, Ahmed? And then Paul Folks. Go ahead, and then Paul could come up, so we can just save a little time.
Thank you. My name is Fazlul Ahmed, and I own the business Jack James Mobile Gas Station. I've been here 12 years, and I don't want a Wawa to competition with me, especially they're big business. I'm the small business guy, and especially I'm serving here 12 years in my community. 75% customer coming from the Locks Road, so if his Wawa is there, it's going to affect me. And second things, I'm here 12 years, 7 days in the morning. I know how traffic it is. As soon as it's 95, make a right turn, it's going to be slow traffic every day, especially crime involved. Sheriff department almost every other month, they stop by for video record because of the crime. Too many crime happening is there. And the way the traffic is impossible to. Most of the day traffic, you can see it. Whatever the proposal is not true. I'm here 7 days in the morning. I know how much the traffic is. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Paul Folks, followed by Brandy Folks.
Good evening. I'm Paul Folks, a resident of Savannah Estates. And first of all, I want to thank John and Paul for meeting with us previously to review this. I think everyone's been very professional, very helpful, and I think everyone wants to do the right thing. I just don't think we agree with on maybe the final result here. If you look at from the transportation standpoint, the traffic report says traffic already backs up. We have trouble getting out of our neighborhood already. Why would you allow an intersection there? It just doesn't make common sense. I've proposed several things back to them, trying to be helpful, trying to work for a solution. They weren't incorporated. It's just a bad idea, adding traffic. And by the way, we're not against Wawa in particular as a brand. That's one of my favorite gas stations. And I think it's many people's favorite gas stations that'll be driving the interstate. And I think when they pull off the interstate, they're going to come to this one and add to the problem. So a good thing is a bad thing here. But I wanted to take exception to the land development code under the buffering requirement. And I just lost it on my computer, but they didn't explain what the land development code says. Its intent is for buffer zones. It's to leave the existing vegetation there and not remove and replace with landscape design. It's black and white, it's written in English, and we're just ignoring that fact. What they're going to do with this bioswale is remove all those trees that are supposed to remain, excavate down 3 feet, berm it back up. That goes against the landscape development code. You don't have the right to approve this project because of that technicality. Separate the storm from the landscape buffer and you'll comply. Although that makes this property too small for a gas station. It's too small for a gas station. Don't give them the exception to the code that they didn't mention that they're asking for. Thank you.
Brandy Folks, followed by Eileen Weisberger.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandy Folks, and I live in Savannah Estates. And it's been my daughter standing at the bus stop, which would be right across from that Wawa. She goes to high school. She stands there alone in the morning. It's dark sometimes in the morning. She's standing there by herself waiting for that bus to come. As cars are driving by, as people are frequenting this place, it's a safety issue for our children that are trying to go to school to get an education. That's also a middle school bus stop. There are children in our neighborhood in middle school. Some grandparents are here, I see, that the students are standing out there a little later in the morning, closer to 9 o'clock. And as we know, human trafficking is very prevalent in South Florida. It's easy on-off access to 95, right there. People will be frequenting Wawa doing the things that they do right off of 95. That is why there was a sign posted off of our exit from the sheriff, right, earlier this year, because the crime was coming north and they're attacking neighborhoods that appear to be gated but have an access through the wooded area. Ours is that way. We're not going to tell everybody that, but that is direct access to our houses. And it's not fair to us that live there. It's not. He put the sign out there. I mean, the study has already been done. The crime is moving north. Why do we want to ask them to come and sit there and watch? These things are really happening. If you don't know, ask. Have you ever met a person that has had human trafficking? Because I have. Go work with those people. See what they're like. They don't come back. I work at the hospital 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. My student has to wait for a bus out there to get to school. Please protect her.
Yes.
Eileen Weisberger, followed by Roberta Moss.
Hi, my name's Eileen Weisgerber. I live on Wildcat Trail. I'm just curious to see if any of you have even driven by or have set foot on the property that we're talking about. I'm just curious because I think that's very important.
We don't answer questions during public comment. You can sit.
Oh, sorry. Well, something to think about. I would also like to say I agree with what pretty much everyone has said that have come up to the podium. I think one important aspect of the whole thing is what the gentleman said on Salerno Road, where there is the 7-Eleven was put up and built. The homes that are there now, they knew that 7-Eleven was there. They knew the problems that were going to occur, and obviously it was fine with them. But this is an existing area, and it's going to not be good for us. It's traffic, it's 24/7, it's different clientele, it's noise, it's lights, it's just everything. And I wish you would go out and see what it's like for traffic on every day at 11 a.m. I'm just using 11 a.m. And for whoever to say that this Wawa isn't going to impact our traffic and our way of life there, they're not right. Thank you.
Roberta Moss, followed by John Turner.
Hi, good evening. I'm Roberta Moss. I am a homeowner in Savannah Estates on Southwest Marin Drive. I'm also the president of the HOA for that community. And we do have some concerns about the proposed Wawa project. You know, I like Wawa, but I do not feel that it is the right kind of business to have on that corner in a residential neighborhood. I also don't think they have enough space to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So our development was built in 2013 and 2014. We consist of 50 homes. We're a very close-knit community, and we are now even closer with all the other developments down Locks Road because of the Wawa project. And we do have some concerns because Wawa is a 24/7 business operation. There will be additional traffic, lights, increased crime, and I've already talked with the Martin County Sheriff's Department, and they said one of the things we need to really be worried about is the homeless people. Our property on Locks Road and Canner Highway is all preserved. It is not protected by a fence or a wall. We've already had homeless people camped out in there, and, you know, we've been able to get rid of them. And then we have our homeowners that are facing that area, their backyards back right up to it. So, you know, anybody could come through there, whether they're a homeless person or it's a teenager, and some of them even go back there and smoke pot in the preserve area. So the other thing is, you could see by some of the pictures that our entrance is right directly in front of the proposed exit entrance for the Wawa on Locks Road. And I anticipate that many people will make U-turns in our entrance, which they already do. And, you know, I'm a working person like almost everybody in my community, and I can't even get out of the entrance to go to work to make a left on Locks Road in the morning. I have to wait until all the cars pass or some good-hearted person flags me, yes, I can go through. The other concern we have are our home values. We feel that having an establishment like a commercial 24/7 operation is going to devalue our properties. And I don't know about all of you, but you know, my home is my largest investment. And as is many of my neighbors in the community. And I want to help protect that. You know, there are hundreds of homes between us, Locks Landing, and Tropical Estates. And I just want to remind you that Stewart was voted the best place to retire. We need to work really hard to keep it that way. We don't want to be like West Palm Beach, and I ask you to be very logical in your decision.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
John Turner, followed by Denise and Tom Clerkin.
Only one could speak.
Which one of you going to speak? It doesn't matter. But John Turner first, then Denise or Tom. I can't read it, but Clerkin? Clerkin, okay. Well, John Turner's first.
Age before beauty.
I'll go with that.
I'm John Turner. I escaped from Dade County a year ago. It was a wonderful place in 1967. But the people that we put in office in Dade County didn't look to the future. You go to the major thoroughfares in Dade County, you've got 3 gas stations and a strip mall or a Publix. Yes, this property is zoned for a gas station. I think the drift is tonight, it's not wanted, it's not appropriate. I think that we have to look to the future. Do you want to have another Dade County? No. I first voted 60 years ago. It's my right, it's not a privilege, just like it's my right to speak tonight. How many voters are there out here tonight?
You need to understand we don't care about voters because we don't get voted on.
I understand that. I understand that, sir. But I'm asking you to look to the future. Take a ride down to Dade County. Anytime. There's no such thing as rush hour anymore. It's 24/7. The last time I was here, people were all upset, pro and con, about the Bright Line coming through, and they were wearing yellow. We're not wearing any different color. We're just regular people. We're taxpayers. And we're voters. And we're concerned. And I ask you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise, followed by David Halleck.
Hi, my name's Denise Clerkin, and I'm a resident of Locks Landing. I'm basing my analysis tonight on what I've heard from both the community and the developers. My main thing is we've talked about the residential areas, the values of the homes, the safety, the environmental, among drainage issues, traffic. I'd like to go back. There's no doubt that the property was approved for zoning for a gas station, but that was 1967. Okay, 95 was not even there in 1967. So have the proper authorities even considered, what the traffic demographics have been since then?
The residential area was not there at that time when it was approved. Do we need to go back and look at that? Okay, the other thing is the environmental issues. Another gentleman brought up about the drainage, digging down 3 feet. You know, that's in the main documents at the time, but now they're changing that. So we need to go back to when it was originally approved for that zoning. And would you approve that corner now for a gas station? And of that size, over 5,000 square feet on 2.97 acres, I think it was. Okay, 2.1. But my question to you is, I don't believe that that corner would be approved to this date for that kind of development. It was done in 1967, and we didn't have that traffic. We didn't have the residential areas. We didn't have the safety issue. We didn't have the children. We didn't have the parks. I do believe that the St. Lucie Locks Park was there. But these are all things to take in consideration. Yeah, it's approved, but at what expense and what type of zoning at that time compared to 2024? 1967 compared to 2024, I don't believe that it would be zoned for a Wawa.
David Hollick, followed by Tammy Emerson. David Hollick, H-A-L-U-C-K. Followed by Tammy Emerson.
Thank you for letting me speak to your. I've been a resident of that area for over 40 years. And back then, Locks Road stopped right at Buckskin Trail and went on in a dirt road. And to the left, where we've got where they've got the fire station and the residential area, didn't even exist. And since then, it's grown, and there's a lot of people living there. And as it's been mentioned, the amount of traffic on Locks Road in the morning is horrendous. And the persons who live in the community that have to turn left, or excuse me, right on Locks Road when they try to leave in the morning, that's pretty tough. And I have to say that I'm one of the people that let you in.
Thank you.
You're the one. The one? Thank you. But I agree with so many of the people who say this is the wrong place for a Wawa. We're not against Wawa. We really aren't. What we are is this is just the wrong place at this time. And we ought to take that in consideration, and hopefully you will. Thank you.
Thank you. Tammy Emerson, followed by Sharon Reich.
My name is Tammy Emerson. I live in Lake Tuscany. I thank you for your time tonight, and I stand before you not only as a resident of this beautiful neighborhood, but as a passionate advocate for the future of our community. Convenience stores and gas stations bring with them increased traffic, noise, and pollution. The serenity and safety of our residential area would be compromised, and the charm that attracted many of us to this community in the first place would be forever lost. Moreover, I'm most concerned with the health implications that arise from having a gas station within such close proximity. Benzene is a known carcinogen with multiple adverse health effects, and it's released during fueling, idling of cars, and from underground storage tank vents. According to the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry, it is a causal agent of leukemia and is associated with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and multiple myeloma. A 2021 study in the Environmental Research and Public Health Journal documented that adverse health risks are increased when neighborhoods are situated near gas stations. If this is built, there will be at least 8 gas stations within 2 miles. We must consider the long-term vision for our neighborhood. We should prioritize developments that enhance our quality of life, more green spaces, community centers, things of that nature. A gas station is not a step in that direction. In conclusion, this is not just about a store. It's about the kind of community we want to build. It's one that prioritizes health, safety, and local businesses. We value our community and don't want to sacrifice it for the sake of convenience. We thank you for your time, and we ask that you preserve the dignity of our neighborhood.
Aaron Reich.
She's going to be a hard one to follow. My name is Sharon Rick. I live in Savannah Estates, and I know that you're all here, and we appreciate your time. And I know it's probably exhausting hearing the same thing over and over again, so I'm going to make it much shorter because pretty much everyone has said what I was going to address with you today as well. But we do live in the community. I live in Savannah Estates, which is right across the street from where this is going to be built. And if you get a visual, you can take maybe 7 steps from the entrance of our development, and now you're into the entrance of Wawa. That's how close we're talking. 200 to 500 feet from the first home. That's right there in our community. So you heard tonight, and I'm going to say it again, the serious health risks, the mental and emotional well-being, the increased accident risks, the children who are at risk, the EMTs who are trying to get to people to save them, who can't get down the street because of the traffic. It's already bad. The pedestrian safety, the negative impact on the property values, the loss of community character. And so I'm going to say to you, as all board members, we respectfully request, we urge you to uphold the trust we've placed in you. The growth is welcomed, but we must be implemented in a way that it protects and honors the community's voice. And as you make your decisions, please ask yourselves, would I want my family exposed to these risks? Would I accept this in my own neighborhood? We invite you to grow with us, prioritizing our community that's safe and healthy and livable for everyone. Another gas station so dangerously close to our community is not the answer. And we know that these lawyers are here and these engineers are here to give you the 1+1, and we're all in alliance and it's all good, but yet trying to make it decent for our community. It is not for our community. It is too close to our community. We don't want it. And we ask you to please vote in the best interest of our community and our taxpayers that are living there. That's right. Thank you.
LPA members, any more questions?
For the applicant or for the community?
Well, you don't ask the community, you ask the applicant.
No,
No, I think I'd like to hear the applicant's finishing remarks.
Again, Tyson Waters on behalf of the applicant. And we appreciate the concerns and we certainly appreciate the comments. But we do go back to the issue of, since
Tyson, can you lift the microphone?
I'm sorry. I'll just squat down. But I go back to the fundamental point, and I think one of the last speakers said, I am an attorney. To me, it's 1+1. You've got Wawa's here, and they're the ones that have made the twists and turns to try and make this even a better development than what's allowed. But the bottom line here is 1967, this has been an allowed use. And because development has happened around this vacant piece of property, doesn't mean that a property owner loses their property rights. They continue to have a land use, they continue to have a zoning that your code allows this use to happen. We've met or exceeded every single regulation that you've got in your codes. A lot of the comments were, any development on this site's gonna affect access, traffic, safety, noise. No. That's something, but it is. But you know, but if we put a drive-through restaurant, which we could do, minor site plan approved at a staff level, you've got traffic, you've got noise, you've got smell, you've got all of these things. But the bottom line.
Hey, come on, act like adults.
The bottom line is your neighbors don't get to pick the use that you want to do with your property. The property owner selects the use that they think is most appropriate for this piece of property. And again, it's a permitted use. We've complied with your code regulations. We've complied with your comp plans. We're not asking to amend your comp plan or your land development regulations. We're asking you to follow the land development regulations and follow your staff's guidance that have confirmed that this complies with all of those regulations. And with that, once again, we'd ask for this board's recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. And with that, we're here for any other questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Come
hey,
on now.
It doesn't help. It really doesn't.
Well, it's not a threat.
That was a threat.
That's not a threat. But hey, I'm not going to talk to you out of, if you got something to say, take it to the microphone.
No. Public comment is over.
Public comment's over. Any questions for the LPA? From the LPA?
Yeah, well, I'd really like somebody to answer the question about the limited commercial across the way. And really, I want to dig down a little bit deeper about, that's probably the biggest limited commercial piece of property I've seen. And it's not just the CSA property, but it's that long rectangular piece next to it. And I'm curious about the circumstances of when that was zone limited commercial.
Sorry, I was having difficulty with the map.
One was 15 and one was 4.
Yeah, and it's just, but historically, limited commercial is applied in order to prevent gas stations.
John, they may be doing a database.
Right. Our IT department is updating, doing some maintenance today, so our maps might not be available right now.
Okay.
But so, Mr. Moore, Paul Schilling for the record. So are you asking for a historical analysis of this corridor or anything in particular that you're interested in?
Limited commercial at that intersection.
Okay.
I mean, I do recall when CSA came in for the rezoning, and it really wasn't a primary issue because they didn't need general commercial. So limited commercial was applied, and the concept was partly to prevent a gas station or fast food restaurant from being allowed there. And I think that does set precedent for the other side of the intersection.
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney, I just want to remind the board that we are on the site, the Wawa site, so that's what's before the board in the quasi-judicial, and the other site is not really relevant to this public hearing. So just a reminder.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Any other questions?
No, and that was really probably more of a statement than a question anyway.
Anybody got anything they want to add?
Well, we have the fire department down Locks Road. Did they raise any concern whatsoever about coming in and coming out?
They made them put a fire hydrant in.
There is always a preferred secondary means of ingress and egress, which is the case here. So from a traffic and/or fire department standards, this site meets those requirements. There is provisions in the comp plan for connectivity, and there is a need to connect sites, meaning secondary means of access. For example, if the intersection there shut down, God forbid there was some kind of problem, then there would be a means to get around that intersection through this site. So there are provisions in the comp plan that require connectivity with commercial sites. And in this case, we have a residential road and then a 6-lane highway, a major arterial. So that was reviewed, and there are no concerns from the fire marshal's perspective with traffic movements at this location.
And so that I completely understand, there is not a problem with the fire, nothing to do with the site per se, but with the site built the way it's proposed. The fire department is not concerned about getting in and out of their firehouse. They gave it a clean bill, or they had a concern about getting in and out
Well,
of the firehouse.
there's two things. One is the fire station has access to Canner Highway via another route, Tropical Farms. So that is a road that they utilize currently for. So there will be a means of egress through Locks Road and the existing Tropical Farms area, but they have complied the project as they have, so they have no concerns.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for staff or for the applicant.
Any comments?
I mean, other than, I also worry a lot about Roebuck Creek. It is not draining into a pristine water body, but it is not going to be enhanced by the pervious surfaces of another gas station. But again, that's probably not enough to blackball this project. I'm very concerned that the future land use map does not recommend another gas station here.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Let me try to get something so that we could give it to the commission for Tuesday. This is not an ideal project, obviously. But this body looks at what the codes are. Doesn't look at whether it's good for a neighborhood per se. There are two concerns I have. One, obviously, is the stacking or the queuing. I think that is a big concern for the neighborhood. I think, ladies and gentlemen, clapping is not going to change my mind or anyone else's, so let us all speak now. That is a big concern of mine. I don't know what you do about it, but at this point, I don't think it's enough because staff has recommended approval and their traffic department complies with their traffic engineer and their staff. But that's a big concern. My second concern is this is an as-right project, or as close as you can get to one. And so they've asked that they get alternate compliance when it comes to the building. Well, I'm going to make a motion that the commission approve it, but without the alternate compliance. And if the commission then says we want to give it the alternate compliance, because it will be a better look. There's no two ways about it. Well, it's, again, gas stations are allowed. The code says they're allowed. We can't change the code. We can only say whether the code is being upheld. Staff has said the code is being upheld, and it is being upheld. So I'll make that motion, and I'll also make a motion that they look at the queuing problem on Locks Road and see if Wawa's can come up with a better solution, because 12 cars, 400 feet, to me, would not be acceptable. You're gonna have a couple driveways that can't be used. And I'm gonna say that I think that is not a great way to be a neighbor. And I know I had a lot to do with the Wawas in Stewart, because I was on the commission at the time. And Wawas did quite a bit to alleviate problems with that. So I know Wawas works with communities. I hope they can work with this community to at least alleviate this to some extent. So my motion is for approval with those two conditions.
There's also some alternative compliance with the buffering. Would you include that in that?
Am I allowed to, since you administratively sort of took that off the table?
May I? Paul Schilling for the record. So there is not alternative compliance with respect to the buffer. That is section 4.663.B.8.A. And that is the use of buffer yards, and I will recite it. Its utilities, easements, septic drains, fields, or other physical improvements shall not be placed in buffer yards unless approved by the growth management director, in this case me, based on a good cause shown. So I kind of outlined those previously with respect to that area being heavily vegetated, meeting all the requirements of a 40-foot landscape buffer plus 10 feet additional bioswale with a 6-foot opaque fence. So in my professional opinion, it meets that criteria. So it is not alternative compliance. It is basically embedded in the application.
Oh,
So
I can't, in good conscience, put that into a motion. So that's my motion.
Howard?
Any chance I could speak again?
No?
No.
Howard?
Yes, sir.
You got any comments?
No, sir. I'm just.
So there's about to be a motion and looking for a second.
Yeah, but we all get to make comments before we start.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like Tom. I don't like where it is. We talk about the comp plan, and Martin County's always quote unquote upheld the comp plan, and we don't want to change the comp plan just because somebody doesn't like it. This guy's owned this property for a long time. He has a right to sell it, and he has a right to the buyer has a right to do it. And personally, I'm facing the same thing where I live. Across the street from us, there's going to be a gas station and a hotel and several other things. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. But it is what it is, and that's where it's going to be. And so I believe in the comp plan. I believe sometimes the comp plan needs to be changed. And if you as a neighborhood, you know, everybody talks about there's a lot of you that put your money together and buy it out and stop Wawa's, and then you can make a park out of it. I mean, that's,
Okay,
I'm not asking, I'm commenting. I'm not asking for comments. I'm just saying, I don't need a comment. You're not going to change my mind. It's just sad that it came to this, but if it's been there since 1967, and I'm like, unlike most of you, I was driving that road in 1967 and before. And I remember when there was nothing out there. I remember when 95 went in. I remember when the turnpike went in. So, you know, give me a break on that. But if it's a by right thing, and the last time this county threw their nose up at people and said you can't do that, we got sued as a county, all of us taxpayers, and it cost us $20-something million. And we're going to poke a bear. And Wawa is a bear. And I don't know anybody at Wawa. I have no part of this deal. I am a realtor. I had no part of this deal, and I don't know Wawa. But Wawa in their right, and the landowner in their own right, if we turn them down and the county turns them down, it's a taking. They have the right to do it. And I don't really want to see the county sued. Yeah, you can, no, we won't countersue because you can sue, but I'm not looking for comments from you. This is my turn to talk. Everybody had their turn, now it's my turn to talk. So there's no need for us to get in a fight with a bear. So that's, and I hate doing it, but across the street from where I am, I'm going to face the same thing. So make your motion.
I made the motion.
Second it.
The chair can't second. You would have to pass the gavel.
You pass the gavel. I want to deny it.
Yeah, well,
Howard, you want to?
you want a second?
You can second it and leave the gavel where it is.
Okay, I second.
You have a motion? Going to say it again?
Motion is to recommend approval with,
can you stop singing?
with with not having the alternate compliance on the architecture, and with Wawa's looking at correcting the stacking on the roadway.
All right, so that was the motion. and it was
Comment,
seconded.
comment, Howard.
Howard, did you second that motion?
Yeah, he said.
He seconded. Call for a vote.
If everybody's done, you can call for a vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I'm opposed. I'm opposed to the gas station here.
I'm opposed to it also.
So,
So that's,
Everybody hear that?
so we have a 2-2 vote, so there's no recommendation. It does not pass. So there's no recommendation to the board right now. If someone wants to, no approval or disapproval. If someone wants to make an alternate motion, you could, or we could just go with no. But if you do an alternate motion, it looked like it would be the same outcome, so.
So it's right now 2-2, right?
correct.
It's 2-2, so there's no recommendation for denial or recommendation for approval that will go to the Board of County Commissioners. We have a tie vote.
That's all the business?
Ms. Elder,
Yes.
could we get clarification on the motion? Because I heard a motion and a second, and then I heard a no vote on the second.
You can
that-
second a motion and then vote.
Okay, I just.
Right, that's, yeah, you can second a motion and then vote no, if that's what you're asking. So I think Mr. Schilling has some,
Another meeting before Christmas?
yes.
We do?
Did you want to get a quorum for the next meeting?
I'm trying to find my notes.
So the next meeting is December 19th, and we do have an advertised meeting. I'll let you take over.
We have at least one advertised item for the 19th, so we're just trying to ensure we have a quorum for, I know one member won't be here.
I'll be in town.
Okay.
I won't be here.
Oh,
Got lots of presents to wrap for Santa.
I gotta travel.
So we're 2 right now?
we only have 2 right now.
If we don't have somebody appointed by then, we won't have a quorum.
Correct. We will have, if someone is appointed, then we might have a quorum, so we'll let you know what we're going to have to do.
And so officers will be elected whenever we have a full board? Is that the
That's my
plan?
understanding.
Yes.
Next time.
What do I do with these?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the LPA.
Ladies and gentlemen, so therefore, there's a no vote, it's not going to go forward.
It does go forward.
Commission with,
Does?
It goes forward to the Board of County Commissioners. It just doesn't have a recommendation from the LPA.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And that would be next week.
although
Tuesday.
it does carry the motion, which was to look into the alternative
Yeah,
compliance.
they can know what the motion was, but they'll hear that it was a tie.
Right,
And I think some of the commissioners are probably watching.
likely.